We'll call the meeting of Tuesday, January 21st of the Erie Planning Commission into order. The first order is a roll call. I'll note that Mark Klecker is absent. I am here, Rich Spiker, the vice chair, and I'll run the meeting. Tony Malinowski.
Here.
Colin Ross.
Present.
Jason Mazur.
Present.
Thank you. Item 2, given our intention to retain the same leadership, we will vote provisionally on that, and it will not become final until Mr. Klecker is able to affirm his assent to the nomination as chair.
I'll move to maintain the same chair and vice chair.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Sorry, Mr. Spiker, can I just interject for a moment? There is the possibility of having 2 alternates on this board. We have requested that I believe that's a mayoral appointment, so we've requested to have 2 alternates. I don't know where that lies at the moment, but.
I had somebody actually reach out to me inquiring about that because they were interested.
Could
so,
you send them
yeah,
my
absolutely.
way, and then I can send it up to
Perfect.
to Mayor Schember. Okay.
That's
So
great.
just to note that in the minutes.
Okay. Next item, approval of the December 17th.
Sorry, we have to do secretary also.
Oh,
Yes.
all right.
Thank you.
We need to have a secretary, and that will be Ms. Spry, Mrs. Spry.
Actually, Cooper. is
Cooper?
going to
Oh, I'm
take
sorry.
minutes for us,
All right.
both of us.
Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll motion to appoint Cooper.
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 I'm currently the Planning Commission's delegate to the Blighted Property Review Commission. I've done it for many years. If someone would like to take it over, I'd be glad to step back, but I enjoy doing it, so.
It's a good enough reason for me.
Huh?
It's a good enough reason for me for you to keep doing it.
Unless you want to trade historic review.
No, not interested. Thank you.
Hard pass.
And we'll proceed, and I will maintain that position.
Okay.
All right. Can I move on now?
Yes, thank you.
All right, item 3, approval of the December 17th, 2024 meeting minutes as distributed. Anybody have any comments, revisions, or updates? Therefore, I will make a motion to approve the minutes as distributed.
I'll second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you. Bylaws. Jackie, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, there's not much to report at this moment. I sent them out to the planning commissioners. This was adopted the bylaws were adopted May 21st, 1968. I think they're the original bylaws.
Nice.
We haven't had a chance yet to delve into this, but we would like to do that before the next board meeting. I'm requesting some samples from the state. Actually, I was hoping to reach out to Denny Pucco and ask if he had some good examples for us to take a look at. And then I can send a draft out to the commissioners, and we can have a discussion around that at the next meeting. I don't know if you had any comments regarding what was sent out. in terms of the original bylaws, or if they are the original bylaws, if there were any comments around that or suggestions, but, yeah.
Admittedly, this is the first I've really had a chance to look at them, but if we do have thoughts about things for inclusion, could we just send those your way and incorporate
Sure.
that? All right, fantastic.
The only thing I noticed in my initial review is that it's kind of minor clerical thing. We're a business isn't really in sync as we dictated.
Okay.
It's very minor. We're just missing public comment. It's letters versus numbers.
Yeah, I think all that could be revised in a new amended version. So, just to put it on the record, we'll send a draft of some other type of bylaws out, that a little bit more, related or appropriate for today's commissioners, so, and for the order of business that you currently have. Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. Item 5, existing future character areas analysis.
Yes, so just to give you a little bit of a heads up, I had asked the consultants to give me an update of what's going on what's the next step, what are the next steps for the character analysis. They've been working through the plan review. The schedule that they sent me is that in January, we're almost finished with January, they'd like to meet and interview with public works staff. On February 18th, they're going to be meeting with the Erie Neighborhood Growth Partnership, or ENGP. On February 28th, they're going to do future character area analysis and community development goals that they'll hope to have that drafted. March 3rd through the 7th, there's going to be a review draft submitted with planning and zoning staff. March 10th, they plan to send the draft to Planning Commission for review and comment. So that's the March 10th meeting. March 18th, Planning Commission workshop on future character analysis. So let's see, I guess, is that one of our scheduled meetings? Need to check that. I don't think so. I think that's a study session that they want to hold on the 18th.
The 18th?
Yes.
I have it as a meeting.
You have it as a meeting? Okay, so they'll be doing it at a regularly scheduled meeting then.
Okay.
Yes, you're right. That is a meeting. So that's the tentative schedule as it stands now.
So one thing that stood out to me, and I guess it's not directly related to the schedule, but obviously impacts it, is in terms of stakeholder interviews and what they're reviewing. I don't see anything on code enforcement or rentals, both short-term and just standard. I know I had made some noise about some posts on Reddit about people not having responsive landlords, and then that led to, well, we have there's no clear or consistent answer as to how rentals are tracked, registered, what have you. It seems like that is probably valuable, a valuable area to be considering. And when we talk about character, if we're not maintaining it or enforcing it, what's the point of some of this? So I'm not to put you on the spot, but I don't know where we could get an answer on how code enforcement fits in both to this discussion and then long term. I know obviously there were changes according to the mayor's office. There weren't, there was something to that effect, but still keep seeing this big gap in the code enforcement part, and I think it would be helpful for that clarity to come, at least in part, as part of this discussion of the scope of work, and when we have those discussions for meetings. I mean, I think it goes to what we're fundamentally trying to address. If you can't improve or talk about the character of a neighborhood if we're not maintaining or enforcing whatever standards we have in place, in my opinion.
Yeah, I can speak to the consultants about that, but those are more procedural types of things, for sure. And I absolutely understand
Yeah.
where you're going with that. If there is a place for it within this short scope that timeline that we have, I think we could speak to it. It's not something that, in this point in this process, I think it's appropriate to address that.
Yeah,
fully,
it's
but I think-
absolutely a much bigger issue, but I
Yeah.
guess that also leads me to the point of, I think this is the second one of these initiatives where it's a very short, brief timeline. Where these, and again, not trying to put you on the spot, but more just putting it out there for future discussions, it seems like it would be helpful if earlier on in this process, we were brought into the fold a bit more to make sure that the scope of what these initiatives are going through helps to align with some of the priorities of this commission and, what we're trying to achieve as well, so that we don't have the rework, we don't have, things like the 12th Street where, we come into it too, and it gets shelved for a bit.
Would you prefer, I'm assuming on February 28th, when they have a draft set forth, I would like to share that with you. That would be my goal, is to share it with the Planning Commission. And then, we could, instead of meeting, I think, we have March where we're reviewing the draft and planning, reviewing the draft with planning and zoning. We could have a special study session or special meeting to a little bit sooner than the 18th, if you would prefer, and I can speak to the consultants and ask if they would adjust the schedule there, even if they zoom in.
Yeah,
and talk
even if
to
it's
us.
Zoom, I think that, even if we're all
So if
virtual,
we're-
I think that might be helpful.
Or we could do an update in February too. They could be at the meeting here in February, or even virtually zoom in and then answer any questions you might have, except the draft, there might not be anything to discuss in February, because it looks like they won't have a deliverable to us at that point. Because the first time they have anything to us is really the goals and the character analysis, community development goals. That being said, I think they could still give an update. Okay,
That
let's
might be
do that
helpful then.
then. All right, sure. Okay.
Take my Mao hat off now, Richard. I'll take my Mao hat off now.
Okay. I don't have anything further to report on the character analysis, other than they're moving along, and we meet bi-weekly with that group to talk about anything that they need, and we'll be setting up interviews and discussions internally.
All right. And next item on the agenda, number 6, PMPEI online learning, building a
Yes.
stronger planning commission.
Yes, this is something that I came across, I don't know, emails get sent to me all the time about different training. This happens to be a Pennsylvania Municipal Planning Education Institute learning that's online. There are 2 different dates. There's the 28th, or 3 different dates, 28th, 19th, and 15th, from 6:30 to 8 p.m. It's $25 per class.
Per person?
Per person.
Per
There's
class.
per person, sorry. It's the same class, 3
Oh,
different dates. There is legal education credits available if you need that. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention, if that's something that maybe the planning commissioners would like to attend, that the planning department does have some training in their budget, and we could cover that cost of training if you'd like to attend that. I know that Tony's expressed that she would like to attend the course, so if you let me know, and I can register for you.
Okay. Is there a list of topics? Was that in that?
Yes, it's in the email that I sent to you. A strong and well-organized planning commission is the key to a successful planning program. While MPC Article 2 provides the authority to have a planning commission, It offers no guidance for how to be an effective unit serving the elected governing body and the community. Using hands-on activities and interactive discussions, this course explores the full range of a planning commission's work, how it can be organized to accomplish more of its goals, and what's needed to prepare members to get involved in the group's work. If you find that this is not something that you're interested in, we also can craft something with DECD and work with them to provide training like we have in the past. I know there was training brought to you in the past. I'm happy to do that. But maybe we want to wait till we get through the character analysis, because we may have some different goals and objectives once we get through that project.
When I attended the last training and then I tried to implement what I learned there, I found out there was a lot of resistance.
Okay. Well, resistance at which level?
City Hall.
City Hall, okay. Okay. Well, noted, but, yeah, if you're interested, we can set you up for this.
There's a new sheriff in town.
Do you have a set, I think Kathy asked you this, but the Planning Commission at this point, I know that Jake's prepared an annual report, but in those annual reports, do you have priorities and goals set forth on this
Supposed
board?
to do that at this meeting. I think.
Okay.
January meeting.
Okay. So that's something that, do you want to wait until we go through the character analysis to do, or do you already have goals and,
At that point, I'll be quarter of the way into the year. So.
Yeah.
okay. Is that something that we want to do for?
What's most useful? How's the document used other than the file and
The annual report, how
Yeah.
is it used?
yeah.
I don't know. Jake, how is the annual report used other than it's mandatory?
Yeah, typically it's just as prepared and submitted to council and the mayor by March 1st. And it's really just a recap of all the business that's conducted by the planning commission. But we have put in kind of an element
Yeah.
at the end that sort of said, talking about some of the planning priorities and things like that for the upcoming year.
Would the other members be open to a Zoom working session, or even if it's just a half hour, kind of specifically focused on those priorities? Just because I think, obviously with Mark's absence, I think, and Tony being on Zoom before, at least all in the same, forum, it might be helpful to have a dedicated session just to talking through
Sure.
the year's priorities.
I think that's an
I'd
excellent.
be okay with that.
So to have a special meeting just to discuss that, sure.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe I can look back at some of the annual reports and put together some of the suggestions that were made.
Sure.
That'd be
And
great.
then prepare something for you to look at prior to the special meeting, and you can come with different ideas. I can also ask the consultant to see if there's something that they have that we can work with that speaks to priorities or goals within that document already, even if we can get it a little bit sooner. Because I know that they've made a lot of progress, at least on vetting through most of our plans.
Well, That would be useful to have for a forward-looking part of. And most of the report, though, is about
Historically,
happened?
yeah.
It's retrospective, not prospective. So
Oh, it doesn't have necessarily the
Well,
priorities and goals.
Jake always put a section in there talking about what we anticipated is coming.
Okay,
Hope, wish, dream.
Yeah, that's right.
okay, sure. And what is that, would you like to do that? Obviously, we would do that in February, maybe the first week in February. How is that looking for everyone? Tony, did you?
Tentatively, it sounds good.
Yeah. And Zoom format is what you'd like? Okay. I'll send out some dates and then, and let you know.
The 3rd is not good for me. That's just,
Would you be opposed to meeting in the planning department and coming in person?
Yeah, I'm
Wow.
I mean, yeah, as long as I'm available, absolutely.
Yeah.
I can do a hybrid, but I think it'd be good to meet in person if you can do that. So I'll send out some dates and see what you're available for, okay? Tony, did you get that? I'll send some dates out and see, and we can always make it hybrid if necessary.
I'm good. I just can't do Tuesday, Thursday mornings. That's it.
Okay,
And evenings, obviously. I don't think anybody wants to meet at, between 6 and 9, Tuesday, Thursday evenings, but I'm taking
No.
that too.
yeah, maybe we can do even like, something like a brown bag lunch type of thing where we just bring our lunch and discuss, okay. Okay. And in terms of interest in this training, other than Tony, is anyone else interested?
I'm interested. I want to dig into it a bit more, just I want to make sure that the
Okay.
funds I'm not wasting them by.
Yeah, and I
doing it.
couldn't find a lot of information around, I mean, that's all I could find. I even went to register and there wasn't additional information, but I can reach out to maybe this PMPEI and see if they can provide me with anything
Yeah.
further. But you are interested in it?
Well, I would be too.
Okay. Jason, any?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, okay. All right,
Gives them more to stand on.
I'll follow up with that.
The
Okay.
game of whack-a-mole.
Still talking. On the next item too.
Yeah. All right, item 7, the planning and neighborhood resources updates.
We have a lot going on. I don't know if anything's really changed since the last time I've talked to you. I think I told you we chose a consultant for the comprehensive recreation parks and open space plan. We are working through the contract right now. I don't think anything else has changed at the moment. We have 2 positions open in the planning department. One is the historic preservation planner, so we've been really focused on the historic preservation program at the moment. We are in the midst of amending Article 7, and we have a final draft, so we are going to submit that now to the solicitor's office and begin discussions with them and the administration. There's been a lot of changes to Article 7, mostly around clarity and uncertainty and trying to make sure that the process is very clear for local designation. We also had a really good study session with the Erie Downtown Partnership and the Historic Review Commissioners to discuss fully adopting the Erie Downtown Design Guidelines. I don't know if you've seen those, but they're really wonderful design guidelines. They would only be used for local designated districts, buildings, landmarks, cultural assets. So if something of that nature was designated and they needed to, from the street view, had a change in their building, let's say, they would have to then apply for a certificate of appropriateness, and then hopefully the design guidelines would be the guiding document for any changes to a historic structure. So we're really kind of knee-deep in that at the moment. What else with historic preservation? So we have that position to fill, and we also have a data analyst that is open as well in the planning department. And we have a neighborhood resource coordinator that we've been interviewing for. So we have 3 positions open. We're running out of space in the planning department badly. We're all scattered around the building. We also are applying for a few grants. If you've been keeping any tabs on the Environmental Advisory Council, we're in the midst of hopefully completing in the next couple of weeks a greenhouse gas inventory with Penn State Maine students through their program called the Local Climate Action Plan Program. And we've already gone through this program actually one time before, 2 years ago, but we never received the utilities, like Penelec, National Fuel, or Waste Management. We never received their data to do an accurate greenhouse gas inventory. So we got to a point where they collected all the information, and they said, well, we could write you up another report, but it would be the same as last time. And I said, no, we don't want the same one as last time. So now we've been really pushing. The mayor's been helping us. We've reached out to some of the people a little bit higher up in the organizations so that we can actually obtain this information and get an accurate greenhouse gas inventory analysis. From there, we plan to apply for 2 separate grants to hire a consultant to write a local climate action plan. So that's where we're at with that. Because we already went through the Partners for Place, the grant that we've had that we completed, we're going to apply again to the Founders Network and see if we can get implementation money and planning money. So, yeah. Any questions? No. That's all I have for planning updates.
Okay. So, item 8, public comment. Anybody having a comment or wants to discuss something, please come forward.
Good afternoon. Thank you for committing another year to our Erie community. It's very important for what you do. I'm interested in that character analysis that you were talking about. So if you could please let me know the meeting times, and if it goes into my schedule, I would like to appear on them or listen to them somehow. Thank you very much. I don't know if this next thing is about, that may go in, the state's Safe Street Study and the planning of the meeting that's tomorrow at ECAT.
Thank you.
Does that go throughout the entire community then, as far as different areas? I had an email about a street study citywide, and was wondering if we would ever be able to do something like that.
So thank you for reminding me about Safe Streets and Roads for All, which I don't know how I could forget because it's one of our main projects. Yes, we are having a public event tomorrow from 5 to 7 at ECAT, which that event is looking at what they call countermeasures. So it's solutions to problems in the high injury network. So this particular funding is specifically addressing high injury networks, those that have the highest fatalities and severe injuries. So while there are accidents that occur all throughout the city of Erie, the ones that have the most accidents and the most severe injuries are the roadways that we're focused on. And those 6, if you remember from the presentation to council, there were 6 priority streets, but we also are addressing some other locations. And then there's something that they call systemic solutions, which are solutions that they're recommending be citywide. So that's what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. Because of the cold weather, and I also know City Council is tomorrow, we will have everything up on our project website for comments, and you'll be able to look at them very detailed. You'll be able to zoom in and look at what kind of solutions they have for 12th Street, 26th Street, Buffalo Road. Those are some of the high injury networks. But they within the maps that they're providing, they're showing crosswalks, signalizations, different solutions and countermeasures to to the problem areas.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And I'll
Thank you.
send you, Kathy, I will send you the scope for the character analysis so you can understand what the project is a little bit more. And I can include you in that study session as
I
well.
would love that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
I'm Andrew Chinichiriadi, and this is...
Could you speak into the microphone, please?
I'm Andrew Chinichiriadi, and that's...
My name is Binder Singh.
We were at a zoning hearing last week, and we were made aware of the rules of the zoning board. They can't change the zoning unless you have a hardship. And they made us aware that the city planning commission is possibly looking at taking some corner buildings in the city of Erie and making them commercial again, because he owns a building at 1064 West 5th. It used to be the former Chuck and Ginny's restaurant. And about 3 years ago, the Manicore Club was going to move there. And we brought it to change the zoning, and they approved it to be to have the club move there. And at the hearing saying they came up with that the property hasn't been used, that it's going back to R2, either a restaurant or a club. So he wants to put a corner store there, and I don't know if the planning commission has got anything coming up in the near future to make corner properties like commercial, because he would like to do carry out food, a corner store with some groceries and with vegetables in the future, because it's kind of a food desert where it's at. You have Country Fair up the street, you have which mostly potato chips and pretzels, whatever, and they do have bologna and some lunch meats, but they don't really have real food. And well, then you have a CVS close by, but that's not, it's mostly a drugstore at the corner of 6th and Cranberry. But he would like to put a grocery store in that corner, but if some of these corners went to R2, could it, be, can you put in some properties to become like stores and markets like they used to be, how the city started, where you had a corner grocery on every corner, or every so many corners. Like Larry's Market, Farrell's Market, all them places, every neighborhood had a called Kanaki store, 18th and Parade. I mean, stores used to be on every corner. So, and nowadays with people getting older, children walking to go get groceries, milk, I don't know if that's in your broader outline or not.
I know that's obviously something important to building walkable, livable communities is being able to support, mixed developments like that. So I know personally, I'm not going to speak for anyone else, that's, a huge point that I'd like to see more of, is make it easier for corner stores, little, not quite bodega, if you will, but, things so we can actually have local community stores that make these neighborhoods more accessible for people without, traditional transportation options too.
This gentleman already has 4 stores. He has 5 stores.
Yes.
So he would just like to add to his collection of stores.
And I heard the chief zoning officer say this before the meeting, the planning commission doesn't have the ability to change zoning.
Right.
That's a different process.
Oh, really?
So we don't have the ability, I guess we have the ability to make you have the ability to make amendments. Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
so, this character analysis that we were going through, I don't know if you heard us talk about this project that we have, will hopefully make some suggestions for how our future development is going and how we then can make amendments to the zoning ordinance. But having residents come to the planning commission and ask for zoning changes
Well,
is...
we're not asking for it. We're just asking when is this possibly going to happen?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if it's going to happen, how long is it going to take?
I'd like it to happen in my lifetime, so during our tenure on this board, at least. I think the character analysis will give us something to stand on. I really think we should have been looking at form-based zoning more so, which would allow for more flexible use in those buildings that are obviously they're not meant to be residential on the ground floor, right? They're commercial. They were built to be commercial spaces. So it is on us to revise that at a macro scale. But as far as your individual property,
Oh, yeah, right.
you got to go through, unfortunately, the variance process with the zoning hearing board.
Right.
Until we change things at a grander scale.
Yeah.
But you have a lot of advocates for it. I can tell you, I'm a resident of our West Bayfront, and I agree you should be able to walk to get a gallon of milk and a loaf of bread somewhere in the neighborhood, and our zoning restricts that
Right.
unnecessarily on our citizens. So keep being vocal about it.
Right, but when is this analysis going to be done, or that's what I'm asking?
This first part of the analysis will be done in March.
Okay.
Yes. But in terms of, I imagine that you've had conversations with the zoning officers, that if you wanted to place it back on the zoning hearing board, you would then go through that again.
I think ideally, when the analysis is done, I think that's going to help inform what the zoning map looks like. And because we've been making changes to the text of the zoning ordinance regarding uses and creating some more flexibility in the ordinance. But what really needs to happen now is to look at the map and to make changes to the map. And that might involve creating different zoning districts that don't even exist right now, like overlay districts, where you can have these traditional neighborhood mixed-use areas. So, but that's something that this analysis is going to help to inform that.
And I don't want to make any false promises for quick change, because things are going to take time in terms of after the character analysis. Then we're going to go into a different phase of this, and most likely we're going to try to get a grant to rewrite the zoning map and rewrite the zoning ordinance, and so it's going to take some time. So I didn't want you to think that this will happen in the next 3 months, that will make these broad changes.
Right.
Yeah.
West Fall Street, are they going to be doing a lot with that this year?
West 12th. Well, probably not this year, but we're hopeful that there will be some money for pedestrian improvement with safety in 2026. That's the year that we're hoping for funding through PennDOT, because that is a PennDOT road.
The new trees and the road wide or whatever, lane there.
Yes.
That's
yes.
next year.
Well, that would be next year's funding, would be in 2026 for pedestrian improvements, yes. That's the only funding that I know of at this moment,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so, all right, we
Yeah.
asked them, it's going to be a while yet, so, thank you.
So
sir.
can go back to the zoning again?
Well, we'll figure it out, we'll have to get
Okay.
some counsel.
Okay. thank
Okay.
you. Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just to address one thing about form-based code, as I don't know if you know this, but Kathy Rosdeck is going to be moving on to the state, so she's no longer going to be with Michael Baker.
It's going Hollywood on us.
So she's going to be, her last day is January 30th and I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this, but now it's public. So we've been having some discussions with her boss, and we had a really, really good discussion last week, I believe, around around form-based code and a hybrid zoning ordinance. And he talked to me a little bit about some of the other communities that he's worked in, and he sent me some examples, and I should send that on to you, because I told him, I said, I would really like to explore that idea with you, and I would really like to work through that. We still have an open-ended contract with him. Even though Kathy will not be with us, we have an open-ended contract through 2026, June 2026. So we extended that, and I would like to open that door and explore that option. This is the time to do it, and it makes a lot of sense if we're going to be going through this character analysis, which is very much form focused.
Right.
So it's
Corner
definitely,
stores are probably the best example to
Yeah,
use
absolutely.
of
yeah,
Yeah.
what can you can see some of them. There's one on 8th Street I can think of that got converted into an apartment and it just doesn't look right. But how do we bring these back to life where people want them?
sure.
And the form of them already speaks to I'm a store.
I think about the one across the street from you, Frame It, all the time.
Yeah.
That's the one that I always, yeah.
And then where do we want them? We don't want that, like there's some that pre-existed in the middle of blocks. That's not a corner store, right? It's,
Yeah. Well, those discussions, while they're being, we're talking about them internally, I think you should be part of that process. And I'd love to pull you into some of those discussions that we're having with, his name is Troy, so he's going to be helping us through kind of this tail end of the character analysis. And I can't remember his last name right now, but I definitely said to him that I would like to explore that further, and I'd like to learn a little bit more about how we can move into that area. I'm familiar with form-based code and actually went through the Form-Based Code Institute, and so I have my training. I did all the training in it, so I definitely would love to be able to bring some of that to Erie. Even if it's not fully form-based, we could definitely have part of it Euclidean and part of it form-based code. So
existing
yeah.
buildings only overlay.
Right.
What it was is what it should be.
Right.
Maybe. Right.
Yeah.
What do we do with churches? Right. That's the.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree completely.
Okay.
Anybody else here? No discussion from anyone else?
I'll move to adjourn then.
Moment.
All second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Thank you all.
Okay.